The Chicago Cubs dusted off the brooms and used them against one of the best young teams in baseball. The White Sox, forget about it. The ESPYs took place in Los Angeles last night, and there were some mixed reviews about the program. We'll discuss the best and worst of the week of Major League Baseball as the first half comes to a close this weekend, and the return of our queen, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika from KXRB. She has a lot of stories to tell, and we're here to listen. That and a whole lot more as Second City Sports hashtag Friday Fun Edition starts right now. Welcome to another fun-filled Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss Keena McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Keena McGee on the Twitter, X at Keena McGee, and the IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. While you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. That's Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We're not unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza we call Sports Talk Radio Show, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. We'll get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given Lakina full powers to give you full ability to be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must remind you to catch Sports Zone Chicago live in the living color right now on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate the squad and give it the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, please tap on that sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook, or your PC, or your Android, just hit up the Google Play Store, download that Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So, no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
And we're providing you with some of the best here on Second City Sports. We got a busy show ahead, as of course Sid has another list of top NFL position players. Our girl Christine, the Queen Manika, is back. We got a lot to talk about with her, from what the White Sox should do with Mr. Garrett Crochet to sports media news, of course, that says that the SPs were, depending on who we talked about, and there was a big flub at the end of last night's show. We'll talk about that. Plus, of course, we'll talk about some Olympic basketball and so much more. But Sid, I guess I don't think anybody saw this coming. I don't know what to think. But yeah, the Cubs did something to the Orioles that has not been done in Baltimore since 2018. They swept them. They swept them at home. And the road opponent has swept the Orioles for the first time in a series, like I said, since 2018. And I don't think anybody saw this coming. I mean, another, happy belated birthday to Justin Steele, who turned 29 last night. He has
same age as me.
Yeah. Okay. His ERA to last. Shout out to our buddies over at GN Sports on WGN. Great show with our buddies. Just a couple of our buddies, Jared Payton and Josh Fryman, who had this stat last night. Steele has a 1.66 ERA. His OPS is about 0.5. And I think there was some other numbers as well. I think he overall ERA, like I said, it's like 1.66 in his last like four starts. He's had quality starts all over the place. And if it wasn't for that, the fact that he had to sit out of for a few weeks, he probably would be at the All Star game with Shota. Shota had another great outing yesterday. We'll talk about that in a second. But on Wednesday. But yeah, just in the I don't know what to think. I mean, Sid, I mean, who are these guys? I have no idea who. It seems like they swapped jerseys, the Orioles and the Cubs, because the Orioles are doing kind of like the thing where the Cubs usually do, and the Cubs are doing what the Orioles usually does. So I have no clue what to think.
As Paul Abdul said in 1990, opposites attract, right? you want some more,
Sometimes.
you want some more numbers? I'll give them to you. The Cubs scored 21 runs compared to Baltimore's 2. Baltimore's starting pitching ERA for that 3-game series 7.20. Their bullpen ERA over 5.5 runs a game. And the Cubs bullpen ERA for that series, Lakina, 0.00. Yay!
I'm just stunned right now. I mean, Seiya Suzuki had a great series. He had a couple RBIs. Ian Happ continues to hit the ball very well. Michael Bush just had some big hits. Christopher Morel. So I think I caught yours right. Like you said, I mean, with Mark Leiter Jr. back in the lineup, like you said, the bullpen's actually been pretty decent. Who are these guys? I'm flabbergasted, Sid. I don't know what to think.
I'll attribute this to the comment that we talked about on the show on Monday that Cliff Lloyd, the Cubs and MLB analysts, said on Marquee prior to their series finale against the Angels on their pregame show last Sunday. The Cubs have to take a simple approach and hit the other way. Cliff Lloyd, I'm referring to, he was speaking in particular of two players, Dansby Swanson and Nico Horner. Both those guys in certain situations started to do that last weekend, and it carried over to the Baltimore series. I saw Nico Horner doing it a couple of times in his series opener on Tuesday night. Dansby Swanson said the same thing. You mentioned Michael Bush. It looks like the power surge is returning. Seiya Suzuki, hopefully he can stay healthy. The problem is that he's been injured ever since he's put on a Cub uniform for the last couple of years, and looks like he's starting to get it going. But Lakina, we talk about Justin Steele. He pitched 7 shutout innings last night, no walks, 4 strikeouts, only giving up 3 hits. It was very impressive. The thing we talked about with Justin Steele ever since he returned from early season injury back in the middle of May, he hasn't gotten a lot of run support. He's been getting that over these last few starts, and it looks like he's finally starting to show, and he's finally getting backed up because of it.
You listen to Second City Sports on Chicago. Lakeem McGee, Sydney Brown with you as we talk some Cubs. Now, here is Shota's ERA. I'll get to that in a second, but just the fact that I think this is a team that we thought we were going to get like the last month. Like, I don't know what happened in June, was it like a bad slump or whatever, but this is a Cubs team that we thought we were finally gonna, and finally getting the Cubs team thought we were gonna expect throughout the season, whether it's power outages or just bad pitching, but whatever. But I don't know what's going on out there. Look, they got 3 against the Cardinals to finish up the first half of the season. If they can win 2 out of 3, or 4, I should say. There was a good double header. Of course, one was rained down at April. But yeah, I mean, if they can win 3 out of 4, I mean, the sky's kind of the limit for the Cubs. I mean, it's sort of one of those things where you're kind of like, they actually did gain a game against the Brewers, and they're actually only 3 back of the last wild card spot. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm not gonna say that they're back yet, but if they can win 3 out of 4 and against the Cardinals, then they can probably make things a little bit interesting for the end of a wild card.
I think if you're a Cubs fan, realistically, you could take you'll settle for a 5-2 record going into the All-Star break. You cannot lose more than 2 games to this St. Louis Cardinals team this weekend. It'll send great momentum and great confidence to that Cubs clubhouse. And I think with that sweep against Baltimore, I want to get your thoughts on this, Lakina, and to our folks out there on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your answers in the comment section, Cubs fans. Do you think by this sweep of Baltimore, assuming that you win 2 or more games against the St. Louis Cardinals on the road this weekend, do you think that it saves their season? Not just saves their season, it changes front office management's minds of instead of selling pieces here and there, now we can go get that big bat. We can maybe find that hidden gem to help out in the bullpen, because I think it does. If they finish up 5-2 or better to close out the All-Star break, I think Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins looking at this. Yes, let's throw out the factor that Cody Bellinger is going to be on the IL for 10 days due to a fracture in his middle finger. But you
Mm-hmm.
don't want nobody to get hurt. But let's just say, Lakina, the Cubs do squeeze 2 out of 4 against the Cardinals this weekend, especially without Bellinger. It'll
Mm-hmm.
send the message to Jed and Carter. When Cody Bellinger gets back, our lineup can be that much more dangerous, and we can add another bat to that lineup. Now this offense is turning around, but if we add that big bat, we could be that much more dangerous. Now I still think that the division is out of the question for this Cubs team, but the wild card is very possible, very possible.
Yeah, I saw Doug Glanville, who's terrific on ESPN, and of course he does occasional stuff from Marquee. He was on with our other buddy Chris Bowden on GN Sports earlier this week, and he said that maybe Jen and Carter may have their minds made up, maybe they don't, but again, that was on Monday. Chris talked to him, so I
Mhm.
wonder, like, maybe has his mindset changed because like I said, the division might be out of reach, but you're still within striking distance of the wild card. So, like you said, if they win 2 out of 3, yeah, I think that definitely changes what the Cubs, decide to do, by the trade deadline in a couple of weeks. So we're interested to see what happens there. Now, I found Shota's numbers. His, according to our, Chris Campa, who's one of the best stat guys. He has a 2.97 ERA this season. He has a .82 ERA in 4 starts against the American League. On Wednesday was a 6 scoreless start this season, so you can see why he's going to the All-Star game. And of course, let me find Mr. Steele's stats: 1.48 ERA, 61 innings pitched, 58 strikeouts, 12 walks, 2 home runs, and a .180 OPBA opposition batting, and a .477 opposition OPS. So pretty good numbers for your top 2 aces there. And I think if you're the Cubs, this is going to be the big thing here. If they win, like I said, if they go 500, okay, fine, that's cool. If they win 3 out of 4, a sweep might be a lot to ask, even for the fact that how they've been playing lately. But if they can win 3 out of 4, I think they can kind of change some mindsets of some Cubs fans. But we have to wait and see.
Yeah, because looking at the playoff picture right now, I think it's safe to say, unless this team has another devastating injury, I think the Atlanta Braves have that first wild card spot locked up. And I think it's safe to. I'm not gonna say it's safe to say, but San Diego might be in that dry seat for that second wild card spot. But that third wild card spot is up for grabs. You got Arizona, the New York Mets, and of course the Cubs. Of course, technically you have St. Louis and Pittsburgh battling out for that last spot as well. So if the Cubs split or, like you said, sweep, which I don't think it's going to happen. I think they'll split the 4-game series, in my personal opinion. But as long as they win 2 or more games in St. Louis this weekend, they're right back in this race, and a big bat will help this Cubs team despite the Cody Bellinger injury.
Should be interesting to see what happens there. Now we'll go to the other side of town after the break. The Sox, well, despite an immaculate outing from Michael Kopech on Tuesday against the Twins, but yeah, things kind of go back to kind of haywire there. Also too, some big history there for Paul Skeens. Going into the All-Star break, and a whole lot more, like Keenan McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. More Diamond Talk coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends.
What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to this hashtag Friday Fun edition of Second City Sports. We're live in Living Color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. Like a traffic cop here today. If you want to follow yours truly on the social media streets, you can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You find my Keena McGee on the Twitter. Execute is going to get an IG.
We have less than 85 minutes left for this extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show. If you have any questions or comments for us as we talk White Sox and the rest of Major League Baseball, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, so let's go to crosstown to the White Sox. Now, the White Sox had a series against the Twins. They did split a doubleheader with them, but they ended up losing. They did still end up losing the series 2-3. Now, led by an immaculate inning from Michael Kopech. Now, for those who are wondering what the heck that means, well, it's when a pitcher, reliever, whoever, not perfect pitcher, but 9 perfect strike. That's basically what an immaculate inning is. Now, it's happened 114 times right now, counting Kopech when he did against the Twins in Major League history. Now, the last person to do it was Johan Oviedo last year for the Pirates. I guess the Rangers. I think we did talk about that last year, I believe. Who was the last White Sox pitcher to do that, Sid?
That's a damn good question. Is it within the last 10 years at least? Yes or no?
No.
Oh, so the last 50 years?
Nope.
100 years.
You're definitely in there. Hollis Sloppy Thurston was the last Sox player to do that, all the way back in 1923.
Wow. And folks, I'm not on Google, so I was just guessing off the top of my head.
Well, you almost had it. You said 100 years, so you were a little over. You were just a little bit over, but 100.
Because they didn't start playing till 1901. I'm talking about the White Sox. So
yeah, that was back when they were I think they were the Stockings, I believe, back then.
Oh,
but yeah, I mean, 203 for the Sox. I mean, there's still a lot of questions about whether or not Garrett Crochet should be traded or should not be traded. I know they were talking. I know on the radio, and of course, with our buddies from GN Sports, they've talked about it constantly. We'll get to it with Christina in a little bit, but what do you think about that series against the Twins, Sid?
The White Sox actually had a chance to get that second game on Wednesday in that straight doubleheader, but it wasn't meant to be. The lack of offense once again has cost this team all year. The Sox do have some decent starting pitching. We talk about Garrett Crochet, but Eric Fetty, who was the only winning pitcher for the Sox in that series, he won the first game. Helped the Sox win that first game on Wednesday 3-1. He had pitched 5 innings, 5 strikeouts, giving up 4 hits and 2 walks. It looks like he's going to be one of those veterans that's going to be out of here if GM Chris Guest decides to trade him. But the White Sox have decent starting pitcher. We talk about Drew Thorpe. He's still growing.
Yes.
Jonathan Kent, I believe, who pitches on Saturday against the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's been kind of up and down, but he's shown some signs. Actually, Chris Flexen, that overrated bum, he's going to pitch tomorrow. Damn it! But anyway, he's been showing some. He's been showing some signs. Talking about Jonathan Canning. We talked about Garrett Crochet. Congrats to him being an All-Star. Look, I don't know if I think we talked about this on Monday. And Garrett Crochet will pitch tonight. For those of you that are attending the Sox game on the South Side tonight, did you see the film on the White Sox Twitter how Crochet got the news?
Oh yeah, I saw that. No, I don't think we did. We didn't.
Okay, I'll just say this again. To manager Pedro Cafaro, who's going to lose his job at the end of the year. Can we get to the damn point? It looks like he was a presidential. It looked like he was a poor man's Joe Biden reading off a damn resume. Like, can you get to it, please?
Yeah, let's say I know he had a long resume, but good lord, I mean, come on now. But
look like Garrett Crochet was about to fall asleep, like Bueller.
I know. I think I heard him snore. I think they heard him snore. Hear him snore.
Right.
So he was about to do like this. He was like, okay, I get to a point already, but enough already. But yeah, I mean, as far as like I said, we'll get more into this with Christine coming up in a bit here. I kind of feel like, remember, Crochet was a reliever. Well, he was a mid reliever, not a reliever, but he was a mid reliever. He'd been there his whole career before he became a starter after he had the Tommy John. So he already has pitched a lot of innings. He was already right at where he usually pitches throughout his career. So if you're a Baltimore or a Seattle or a Philadelphia, and you need some extra help on the pitching side, he's already kind of like, he might wear himself out. So he hasn't pitched a full season he hasn't done a full season as a starter yet. This is his first time. So I'm wondering, like, is that why some teams are kind of a little hesitant to want to kind of pull the trigger on giving you one of their top 10 or top 5 prospects for a guy where you're not really sure he's gonna be able to last?
I think it's smart if you're a good organization, like you said, like the Yankees or the Braves, those top-notch organizations. You're careful with it because they're watching the same thing we're watching, Lakina. And the White Sox talked about throughout the season. And you're going to see this whether they trade him on July 31st or not. They're going to limit his innings because Garrett Crochet hasn't never been a starter in his whole professional career. And coming off of Tommy John surgery, you just don't know what's going to happen. So the White Sox are going to be careful with Crochet, and especially if, let me repeat again, if they trade him by July 31st, which me personally I don't see happening. But I hate to say it, but that door might be open this winter, assuming that he doesn't get hurt. I'm talking about Crochet. Their door might be open this winter to trade him. I hope that's not the case, but the White Sox not just got to play the short-term game here, but they got to play the long-term game as well.
You listen to Second City Sports on Chicago. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown with you, talking some Diamond, talking some baseball here on Second City Sports. Let's go. Let's go into the rest of the league here. Now, we talked about Baltimore. Now, is this being swept by the Cubs? It's just like, hey, you know what? It happens, whatever. Or is there a cause for concern if you're a Orioles fan?
Of course, we talked about in the last couple of shows, this is a cause of concern for Baltimore only because their starting pitcher has been roughed up not only on the field but off the field via the injuries as well. And as I said before a week or two ago, they should be one of the teams calling the White Sox and Chris gets about the availability of Garrett Crochet. Now, they still have the offensive talent, and you know as well as I do, they're fun to watch, but their pitching has improved this year. I'm talking about Baltimore, i.e. Corbin Burns, who I believe is an all-star again this year. But you need that other stud starter to go along with him, especially when you get into the playoffs. It's about really having 2 strong starters to carry you through a playoff series. So that's what Baltimore has to look at right now. Now, the Yankees, which I know we'll get to in the sec, they're having a rough go right now. We talked about it on our last show on Monday, but Nestor Cortez, who Looks like he started to turn around his season last month. He got roughed up again last night. Tampa Bay quietly getting back to 500. I know they had some other stuff going on off the field. We won't talk about it here, but they're getting back together. And the Yankees, they just cannot depend on Aaron Judge anymore. John Carlos saying got to come back. Their starting pitcher has to turn around. Luis Gil, who's going to the All-Star game as a rookie starting pitcher for the Yankees, he has to turn it around as well. If you're the Yankees, you just have to take a deep breath and regroup after this weekend. I know for them, they cannot wait for Sunday to come to reset and get this first half of the season over with.
Yeah, hopefully they can, kind of get it going again. Hopefully a lot of those guys like the Stands and the Rizos can start coming back because they really need them. And you can kind of see why. I know people want to say, oh, Yankees are flawed, are frauds, but I think it's just because they're not healthy. I think that's really been the problem. So we'll see what happens there. Now, Boston, they did win 2 out of 3 against the A's. Now, I don't know. Look, they're 5.5 back of the Orioles as we're, thanks to the Cubs as we're recording this, but I'm still not sold. I know Tanner Hawk has been, he came up big against the A's to finish up that series and taking the rubber match there. But I kind of feel like I'm not there with Boston yet. They're kind of like I think they're kind of like a slightly better version of the Cubs. I've been saying that all year.
I think you're correct. Then don't forget about Cutter Crawford, their other starter as well. He's come up big in his last couple of starts, but Boston needs another big stuff starting pitcher now. Do they have enough in their minor league system to get one? I'm not sure. Their offense is not too bad. I know Rafael Devers, I'm a big of a fan of him. I am of him. And that should have been Yohan Mercado, but injuries have derailed his career, but I digress. But Boston, you need that one more starting pitcher, in my opinion, to take you over the top, perhaps get into the playoffs via the wild card. But I'm with you, Lakina. They just need that one big move to change the course of their season. And we'll see if their front office can do it between now and July 31st.
Yeah, definitely. Something to look out for there. Going to Cleveland as the Guardians didn't have a good week themselves. They lose 2 out of 3 to the Lonely Tigers, including 10-1 on Wednesday. And I mean, I think the Guardians they've been playing very well. But remember, we talked about Minnesota. Minnesota is right behind them. They're only 4.5 back now, and I think that injuries are starting to kind of a little bit concern. Also, their pitching too.
Yeah, the pitching for the Cleveland Guardians has not been good. I did watch that game on Wednesday. I know the Tigers took 3 out of 4, but that game on Wednesday, we talked about the Tigers bullpen earlier this season. They did everything damn near possible to give that game away on Wednesday. I don't know if you saw it, Lakina. I don't know if you saw it, but they really hung on for dear life to win that game. But Cleveland, this is really their first real struggle, bad stretch of the season. And yes, Detroit caught them at the right time for them because the Tigers have been struggling. But if you're, like I said, Cleveland still have a great lineup with Andres Jimenez at second base, with Jose Ramirez who's still a top AL MVP candidate in my boat. Don't forget about Steven Kwan as well, one of the best leadoff hitters in baseball. So I think Cleveland will be fine. Now, will they make a move between now and July 31st? I think they will, but who are they going to get? I don't know, because they don't have as much financial flexibility as some of these big market teams do. Unfortunately, that's their reality.
Yeah, they don't have a lot in their farm system either, so I'll be interested to see what happens there. Now, Minnesota, like I said, we didn't really talk about Minnesota, but Minnesota, I think, is one of those teams where they're kind of like creeping out. A lot of, I don't want to say a lot of no-name guys, but look, you got a lot of guys there, but they basically kind of took advantage of that. They probably should have lost that series against the Sox, but they made some clutch hits late in order to kind of preserve that.
Yeah, like I said, the starting pitch has been above average, and they're hitting, like I said, hasn't been off the charts lately. Thanks to that series against the White Sox, but you still have Carlos Correa, who's come on over the last few weeks, Byron Buxton, who's playing a little bit more in the outfield this year than the last couple of years due to various injuries, and you have Carlos Santana as well. So they do have veterans in that lineup to carry through offensively. But you know me, I've been questioning their starting pitcher. Their starting pitcher hasn't been bad lately as of late, but we'll see if they can keep them. I think they have enough to overtake Cleveland? I don't think so.
I'm with you there. Now, things are getting interesting now out west, but the Mariners did help themselves by sweeping the Padres. We'll get to the Padres in a second because just, again, you thought that maybe they were figured out, but then they got swept against Seattle. Cal Raleigh had a big series there. Julio Rodriguez, made a big defensive play. If you guys can see it on Tuesday, just On Wednesday, I should say, and it was just one of those like a great play. If you guys didn't see it, please check that out. But looks like the Mariners, have had a rough last couple of weeks. They're starting to kind of find their groove again.
Hopefully, Julio Rodriguez can find it with the bat because, like you mentioned, we all know what a hell of a defensive player he is. And the Mariners as a whole in that lineup, they need a big bat now. Can their front office make a big move between now and the July 31st trade deadline? We've been talking about over the last month. Their pitching is solid and their bullpen is not too shabby, but they need a big back in their lineup. Is it Pete Alonso, which I doubt now since the Mets are winning? Is it Vladimir Guerrero Jr. with all his hair cut off now? Or is it somebody else that we're not talking about? But Seattle needs another big bat in their lineup because as we standing here talking today in the AL West, their lead is not as big as you think. Here, we talked about the Astros. Here comes Houston. They're 2-3 games over 500 now. Texas looks like they're starting to finally get their act together. So Seattle's front office, you got to make a move now because I think we can safely say, Lakina, I'll call it now. Houston and definitely Texas, by them getting healthy, they're not going away anytime soon.
Plus, Houston did sweep the Marlins this week, so that's going to be big. And remember, Houston and Texas, we'll talk about that when we do the schedule, but they face each other starting tonight, so that could definitely be a little bit of a battle here, like who cancels the other out as we get into the All-Star break as well. Like I said, Texas, I think they're showing you why they're defending World Series champs. Like I said, they're getting healthy at the right time and their pitch has been really good. It's going to be interesting. Marcus Semien replaces Altuve as part of the AL starting lineup and as second base because Altuve is a little bit banged up. It's going to be interesting to see what they do here because, like I said, they did win 2 out of 3 against Anaheim Angels of California, or however we call them.
They got like 4 or 5 different names.
But they took care of business against the Angels, and now they're back in it too. So the West is getting a little wild out there in the AL.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here with you discussing the best and worst from this past week in Major League Baseball. Lakina, let's move over east. The series of the week took place in the city of brotherly love between the Philadelphia Phillies and the Los Angeles, the LA Dodgers. I know that's a bad impression of Vince Scully, but I digress. But the Philadelphia got their 2 stars back in Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper, while Mookie Betts is still on the shelf for the Dodgers on the other side. Bobby Miller, who's been so struggling as of late, he's been sent down to the minor leagues. Lakina, this series was bigger for Philadelphia. They played like it, and it showed the Dodgers who's boss in the National League. Do you think this series will matter by season's end?
It depends. It depends. The Dodgers go to a complete free fall. We'll get to the rest of that division because they're not really helping. They're kind of like giving the Dodgers a little bit of a cushion there. But the Phillies needed this more than they did, especially with Schwarber and Harper back. They had 3 home runs in that rubber match to help out Aaron Nola. So that kind of sealed the series when the series sweep there. And I think where they're showing you. Yeah, they had a little bit of a bump, with those 2 being out. I'll talk about Harper and Schwarber. They actually kind of kept this for a little bit. I know they lost their series against Atlanta, but having them back, I think they showed you why that they're one of the best teams in the league. They're great pitching. I would say perhaps maybe get another starting pitcher to kind of help out Nolan and Zach Wheeler to kind of help them out a little bit. Maybe even a middle reliever as well. It's probably one of the only big blemishes of that team. But I think Dodgers fans, relax. I saw a couple of tweets, those usual tweets like, Dave Roberts, oh my God, fire him. Stop it, folks. But yeah, I mean, the Phillies they're showing you why they're one of the best teams in baseball.
Let's not forget about Ranger Suarez, too, in that starting rotation for Philadelphia. He's been a kind of a big surprise for them this year as well. On the flip side for Los Angeles, as you mentioned, they're going through injuries right now through their starting staff, and they were dominant through the first almost 2 full months of the season. Right now, they going through a tough stretch, via injuries and via just a bad performance. But I think they'll be okay, especially when Mookie Betts comes back. Shohei Ohtani's still doing his thing. In my opinion, he's still the number 1 candidate for a National League MVP. And so you have to keep an eye on him. Freddie Freeman, when he gets it going, there's nobody better than him as a hitting first baseman in the game of baseball. So, and Teoscar Hernandez, who was named an All-Star last week, he's going to compete in the Home Run Derby coming up on Monday. He's been a nice surprise for the Men in Blue this year as well.
Yeah, going back to Ohtani, that Tuesday game, he had a couple of stolen bases. He's only the second NL player to have at least 50 extra base hits and 20 stolen bases prior to the All-Star break. Of course, that joins not Barry, but his dad, Bobby Bonds. He did it for the Giants back in 1973. So, yeah, the show is still doing it. Like I said, let's just, I think people, Dodgers fans need to kind of chill a little bit. Like I said, the rest of the division is kind of helping them kind of keep that cushion. So we'll get to that in a second now. Atlanta lost, they split their series against the D-bats. And I think, the Braves are kind of like, they're starting to kind of figure it out they're figuring it out a little bit, but they still got a lot of work to do if they want to kind of keep pace with the Phillies, at least try to anyway.
Yeah, we all talked about the Braves, with the injuries that they had this year to Ronald Acuna Jr. and others. I forgot Spencer Strider. The both of them are out for the year, but they have to march on and they have to manufacture and run. So hopefully the guys that I mentioned over the past couple of shows, Austin Riley, my guy Ozzie Oblies, and Matt Olson, those guys have to lead the way and step up and help out their strong pitching staff. You talk about Chris Sale and Ronaldo Lopez both making an all-star team. That's good, but Atlanta just has to be more consistent. On the other side for Arizona, I know they got back to 500, but it's going to be a long, tough road for them to get back to the playoffs. And I don't know if they could do that.
Yeah, they're kind of falling back to earth a little bit. Talking about Arizona, they kind of were surprised everybody last year, but now, of course, they're now the hunted, so now they're kind of being not back into reality at least a little bit. Now the Mets, look, they took care of business against the Nationals. I mean, what really more can you say? And it looks like Pete Alonso is not gonna be like you said, they're probably gonna trade him now because they're winning. So yeah, I think that's kind of sort of like a but they've been doing pretty well. So we'll see what happens there. Now let's go into the National League Central as the Brewers they lose 2 out of 3 against the Pirates, and they're starting to kind of fall back to, like I said, the Cubs were able to gain a couple of games against them. So, like I said, I don't know if the division, the Cubs can win the division, but the Brewers are kind of falling to earth a little bit.
I want to ask you about Wednesday's game, Lakina, with the Pirates and Brewers. Paul Skeens, who's going to start in the All-Star game next week for the National League, he's going to be your starting pitcher next week in Arlington, Texas. He had 7 shutout innings of no-hit ball, striking out 11. He was at 99 pitches when the manager pulled him. Did you agree with that decision? I did.
Yeah, I did too, and I think that's why I'm afraid of, because now he's going to be. I think Hideo Nomo, I think, was the last rookie to start in the National League, for the National League in the All-Star game all the way back in, I think, '98, and I'm kind of worried about him in the sense that he might be worn out. His arm might be worn out by the end of the season. So I know he's been pitching great. He's breaking records, pitching records, rookie pitching records for the Pirates all over the place. But it's one of those things where you kind of have to be careful of how you handle, especially at the end of the seasons. So, I want to, I agree with it to this extent, because you're going to have to I don't want to say baby, but you kind of have to keep an eye on him, especially since this is a new form for him. It's going to be interesting to see, especially as the season goes. We may not see him very much, near the end of the season, especially, I'm sure the Pirates probably going to be contending, but as it gets closer again, we may not see him a lot.
I remember I brought this up about a month ago, and I was telling somebody this about this as well. I'm worried about him. I don't want to say peaking too early, but the kinds of fastballs he's throwing is in the mid to upper 90s, and you notice it's only been a couple of times that he's been pulled in the 6th or 7th inning, but how hard he throws is maybe it's just a pessimist in me that I'm worried about him, like you said, wearing down too early. We saw that here in Chicago, i.e. Michael Kopech in 2018, folks. Remember 2019 we had Tommy John. So I don't want to have it to Paul Skeens, but I'm sure there's something that hopefully Pittsburgh will keep their eyes on there.
Well, remember Kerry Wood as well. He had a great 20 strikeout game, and we saw what happened after that. So, yeah, you got to be careful there, especially
he missed the next year with Tommy John.
Yep, so you got to be careful. So we'll see what happens there. Now, Cincinnati, Rhys Hines, his first Major League Series, of course, the rookie from Cincy. He had 3 doubles, 1 triple, 2 stolen bases, and 2 home runs. The only other player in the modern era to have 6 extra base hits and 2+ stolen bases in a single series at any point in the season. You go all the way back to Mitch Page, who did it all the way back in 1977 with the A's against the Twins. So, kind of like the youth is here for Cincinnati, of course, with him and of course Eli De La Cruz is going to his first All-Star game. No one's really expecting anything from Cincinnati, but at least the future looks bright for them.
The future could be looking brighter for them sooner rather than later. They took 3 out of 4 from Colorado at home this week, and now they're 4 games under 500. Could they be back? I'm on the wait and see approach. They do have young talent, as we mentioned. I know they came out of nowhere last year, but last year is history. This year, they've been struggling at best, to say the least. So we'll see if they could finally get to that 500 mark. They still have a long way to go, in my opinion.
Real quick, out west, we talk about the West, the AL West, but the Padres, of course, they get swept by the Mariners, and they only scored 1 run, 4 runs, I should say, the whole series, and we thought that maybe the Padres are figuring things out. They do things like this. Now, granted, Seattle is one of the best teams in baseball, but they had their shot in that Wednesday game, and it was just one of those things where the Padres are kind of going back to those bad habits, not clutch hitting, not getting, giving up a lot of big hits. So it's kind of hard to take the Padres seriously. That's why for all you Dodgers fans, you need to kind of take a chill pill on that for a little bit.
Yeah, the Padres are consistently inconsistent.
Like I said, it's like a better version of the Cubs, as I always say. Going to the schedule for this weekend. Speaking of the Dodgers, they face the Tigers, hoping to get back on track as they continue their East Coast trip. The A's and the Phillies, that they should take care of the A's. The first game, the Apple TV Plus Friday game, you got Cleveland and the Rays. So those of you in Cleveland and Tampa, you have to find another place to watch that game. Yankees and Baltimore. That should be a fun series. Two teams that have been struggling lately, so that should be interesting. Kansas City and Boston, and you got Miami and Cincy.
Yeah, the rest of the schedule looks like this for the weekend. Colorado is at New York to take on the Mets. The Marlins will go to Cincinnati to take on the Reds. You mentioned the Pittsburgh visits Chicago to take on the White Sox. The Battle of Texas, the Rangers will go to Houston to take on the Trastros, as our guy Sean Sierra would say. Washington will visit Milwaukee. The Cubs will play the Cardinals in a 4-game series now down in the Show Me State. Speaking of the Show Me State series from 1985, wasn't it? No, this next year is 40 years. But Kansas City and St. Louis faced each other early this week. Kansas City took care of St. Louis in 2 straight games. But the Cubs and the Cardinals will face each other again this weekend. Seattle Mariners will face the Anaheim Angels, continue that weekend series down in La La Land. Atlanta will face San Diego. Toronto, after taking 2 out of 3 in San Francisco, they'll continue their road trip, West Coast road trip. They'll visit Arizona. And Minnesota will take on the San Francisco Giants. I think the rematch of the 65 World Series, but I could be wrong. I'm sure someone's going to correct me in the chat. Your national television schedule for this weekend looks like this. Tomorrow, Saturday on MLB Network at high noon, the Dodgers will face the Tigers. At 3 p.m. on FS1, you'll have the Yankees in Baltimore. Your Fox Saturday Night Baseball game of the week looks like this. Most of the country will get Atlanta at San Diego, including here in Chicago, while others will get Minnesota at San Francisco. Coverage begins at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on Fox. And the Roku TV game on Sunday will have the Yankees at Baltimore. That's at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. And remember, no Sunday Night Baseball this week because of the first half of the season coming to a close.
Yeah, that's been a tradition. Also, don't forget that first game of that Cubs Cardinals series will be on Apple TV Plus. So Cubs and Cardinals fans out there, you guys are going to have to find somewhere else to stream the game tonight.
You're correct. And that's tonight's game will be Cubs Cardinals game will be at 7:15. And that's your schedule for MLB for this weekend as we wind down the first half of the season. And don't forget, the All-Star game will be next week on Tuesday at 7 o'clock on Fox.
Down there in Arlington, Texas. So that should be a fun. We'll talk a little bit about that on Monday. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2 straight ahead. This is Second City Sports on Chicago. Coming next, we'll talk some little bit basketball as the U.S. men start defense of their gold medal against Canada. A pretty interesting game. We'll talk about that. Also, too, of course, Sid has a list of some top position players in the NFL coming up with training camp starting. Our girl Christine Mack from KXRB joins us to trade or not to trade Garrett Crochet. We'll see how she feels about that. Also, some sports media news as Fox announces their new NFL TV lineup. Not officially yet, but this is what we're hearing. Also, too, the NBA TV contracts are official, or are they? We'll talk about that as well. And a big blunder concerning the SPs from last night. And some mixed reviews about the show itself. We'll talk about all that coming up next with Keena McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports. On Sports in Chicago, we do some round ball coming up right after this.
No, I don't know though. I'm scared. I mean, you're so
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports, the Friday Fun Edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You find my Keena McGee on the Twitter, X, again, the IG.
We have less of an hour left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us as we discuss men's Team USA basketball exhibition from the other night and a whole lot more, you can do so by going to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago live and live in color 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year on Roku TV.
All right, Sid. This exhibition game, of course, we during the right before the Olympics, all the teams do a couple of exhibition games to kind of get see how the team looks and whatnot. Get an early look at USA basketball. Now this actually took place, I believe this was in Vegas, if I'm not mistaken. 86-72 United States over Canada. Some people are saying that Canada could be one of those teams that could definitely challenge the United States. We'll see about that. Some nice balanced scoring through the rest of well first of all we'll say that Kawhi Leonard, of course, we know he's been nursing that nagging leg injury, and unfortunately I said it was going to be 50-50 whether or not he even plays, and it turns out he's not going to be able to play. Derek White takes over, of course, an extra defender, which is definitely something that the U.S. usually lacks. So again, I know some people say, "What about Jaylen Brown?" Look, Derek White is a better defender, so that's probably why USA basketball with that route instead. But yeah, I mean, the second unit for the United States, I'm a little, well, you know what, it's gonna be they're actually been pretty decent. And like I said, I think Canada has a really solid team themselves. So, but yeah, we'll talk about the United States first. But yeah, I mean, the U.S., the 3-point shooting they need to work on. They're only 7 for 23, but it seems like they kind of got it going there. Of course, like I said, we'll see once Derek White gets implemented into the team. But I kind of like what I see here with the United States squad. Of course, there's still some kinks to work out, but I feel like I like where they're going with this, at least so far.
Shout out to our guy, her friend of the show, Herb Howard, the Chicago Bears beat reporter for It's the Bigs Media. Thanks for checking in, Herb. He says, I didn't realize how loaded that Canada team was. Yeah, they are very loaded.
They're very loaded.
Yeah, don't forget Jamal Murray of the Denver Nuggets. We talk about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for the OKC Thunder. Kelly Olynyk, he's been around for a long time. Don't forget about RJ Barrett, formerly of the New York Knicks, now with the Toronto Raptors. He's on Team Canada. So I know I'm forgetting about a couple other guys at the moment, but they are stacked. And remember, Lakina, I said for the last couple of shows that Canada could be a threat to the U.S. If it ever meet in the middle round. But looking at the exhibition from the other night, Canada got off hot early, but like you mentioned, the United States turned it on late. LeBron James turned it on. Anthony Davis was a beast inside, especially defensively. Steph Curry got it going on the outside. Devin Booker did some nice things as well. Like you said, remember, folks, these are exhibitions as a tune-up for the Olympics. I know the next 3 games, I believe, the Americans will go to Dubai to play, and then I think they'll play. I forget the last two games they'll play before they hit Paris on the 26th. But the United States, as you mentioned, they still have some kinks to work out, but they did look good in that comeback. Especially once that second half started, it looks like everybody knows their roles, and it's going to take a couple more games for them to really, for Steve Kerr and his coaching staff to really lock down the rotation, and I think they'll be fine. But let's talk about the Jaylen Brown quote-unquote controversy for a minute, Lakina. Now, if USA basketball, I know Grant Hill, in my opinion, has been taking some unnecessary heat here. And I know Jaylen Brown had some comments on his social media page over the last couple of days. But if Team USA was trying to quote-unquote stack an all-star team like they did 20 years ago to the day, it was a snub. But for what Team USA is looking for now, going to the present time, I don't think Jaylen Brown got snubbed.
No,
I'm not going to say they couldn't use him, but if they're looking for a specific player for a specific role, that's what they did, and Derek White fit that mold.
Like I said just a couple minutes ago, he is a great defender. He's one of the top defensive players in the league. He was all defense, so that's what they need. Especially you're playing international basketball. Every player, look, Herb mentioned, we mentioned too, with that great loaded team from Canada. I mean, Dylan Brooks is another top player that could be a problem. That could be a big star for Canada coming up. So you gotta mix it up with you can have your stars. We gotta have some great role players too. And this is 19. Look, Steve Kerr said this. I think he read it again right before the first exhibition game. This is not 30 years ago when MJ and Magic and Bird and Pip and Barkley could all beat each other up and take pictures with Team Angola during it's not okay. Yeah, granted, they did lose to a team led by Grant Hill and some of those guys, but that was kind of like, sort of like the thing that kind of got him back to like, okay, let's stay focused here. But look, a lot of these guys have played in the NBA. A lot of these guys have played professionally in their respective countries. So you gotta mix it up a little bit. I know Jaylen Brown feels he's a little bit snubbed, but again, Derek White feels a need. And look, no offense, Jaylen Brown, you're a great player. You deserve Finals MVP, but you're not a great defender. You're just aren't. Your teammate Derek White is. So that's what it was based on need. So I know he feels a little slighted by it, but like I said, I think for the way this team has been constructed the last couple Olympics, especially after what happened in 04 where they lost. That's how that's why this mindset changed.
Yeah. And also too, with that, I want to go back to just briefly here, looking about comparing this team to the '92 team. That '92 team, with the exception of Bird and Magic, they were at the end of their careers. We know about the special situations we have with Magic. We don't have to go through that. But for the rest of that team, minus Christian Laettner, that was prior to his rookie year with the Minnesota Timberwolves. The rest of those guys, the rest of the 9 guys were at or at the beginning of their prime years in the NBA. So I would take that '92 team over this team. Now this team in 2024 is much different. Obviously, the way the rules are today, it's a much deeper team. I will have to give this team a slight edge on that. But with that '92 team, with those 9 out of those 12 guys that we mentioned, they were at or at the middle of their primes of their careers. Now, if you really want to make an argument, Lakina, and we talked about this team when they won the gold medal, I believe my math is correct, 16 years ago in 2008. Now that team can put up more in argument with that '92 team than this current team right now.
Yeah, the redeem team, as they call it. So I think sort of kind of like, make it all, sort of like trying to compare. Oh, well, this team, look, the landscape has changed. So it's not like, look, everyone, I don't want to say they're on legal footing, but they're right there with the United States now. And look who they're going to be playing against. Talk about the U.S. in their group. Now, like I said, I think Serbia is probably the one team that can probably, they opened with them. So that's probably the one team that can give them a hard time. We got the Jokic's both. Got Nikola Jokic on that squad. But like I said, we'll see how he looks in the different, sort of like the team aspect of it now. And also Bogdanovich is there as well. But I know he's been banged up, so there was a reason he might not play on the team. So they got Sudan, so they shouldn't have no problems there. And they also play Puerto Rico, so it's going to be interesting to see. Puerto Rico. They may give the U.S. a hard time, but I think they should be able to get out of that group with not unscathed, but they'll probably definitely be, they should at least 2 of their games and not all 3 from the pool play. So as we get closer to the medal rounds and the knockout rounds, that's going to be really good to see what this team's made of. And look, it'll be interesting to see how this goes. I know some people have been clamoring for let's bring back the college kids, because I think there was an under 16 team for the U.S. that beat up I think the Philippines like about 100 something points or something like that. A little over a week about I think last week. So I think it's going to be hard to kind of replicate the dream team. It just isn't going to happen.
Also, too, Lakin, let's not. I think we talked about this on our last show. Let's not forget about the team from France: Rudy Gobert from the Timberwolves, Giannis Antetokounmpo, aka the Greek Freak from the Milwaukee Bucks. Hopefully, he's healthy enough to play. And let's not forget Victor Wembanyama from the Spurs. Remember, he had a good rookie year last year, and he did win Rookie of the Year, but his full skill set wasn't on display last year. And I think that the teams that are facing him could be in trouble if Wembanyama's full arsenal will be displayed this summer.
Yeah, he's only 19 too. He just turned 19. So that's gonna be interesting too to see how that kind of shakes out with the other groups. I'm more interested to see what happened to the other groups than the US group. So it'll be interesting to see, like I said, France, they'll be playing Germany, Japan, and Brazil, and then Group A, you got Australia, Greece, Canada, and Spain. That group I think is gonna be interesting because you've got Australia. And then you've got Canada, of course, you talked about Canada, also Spain, too. All those are no Gasol brothers. So that Spain team is going to be a little bit different this time. But I think the groups are kind of set up for the U.S. could perhaps maybe it's not going to be easy. They're going to have to claw their way like they did in that in that exhibition game against Canada. But I like what I see so far. Like I said, I'm sure Coach Kerr is going to play around with different lineups, different combinations. So we'll see how it goes. They still got about 3 or 4 more games to kind of get it going. So we'll see. They'll get into it, the U.S.
Yeah, the U.S., especially in that second half, they dominated in the fast break department. And they dominate in points in the paint as well. I'll be watching for the big guys. I mentioned with Anthony Davis, he turned it on later in the games, especially defensively. Joel Embiid, of course, he was injured all last year. And that's one of the reasons why Philadelphia lost. I want to see how Steve Kerr uses him. And don't forget about Bam Adebayo as well. And like you mentioned with Coach Kerr playing around with different lineups, it depends on which team they play that day. Maybe all three of those big men will be used. Maybe two of them will be used out of three. Who knows? But I want to see how the big guys will play once the Olympics start. I'm watching them, of course, with the rest of this exhibition tour, but I want to see how those guys will stand up conditioning wise. So once the Olympics begin in a couple of weeks.
The 3-point shooting is a little bit of a concern. Like I said, they were only 7 for 23. I know we know Serbia can shoot the three very well. So can Spain. So I'm a little worried about that. They're going to have to perhaps get those guys going. Steph's going to have to, like I say, he can't hit from like near the half court like he does in the NBA. He's going to have to adjust a little bit and shoot from normal 3-point range for international play. So he's got to work on that. But I think they will figure it out. So yeah, I think so overall, I think if you want to give him a grade, you give him a solid B. I mean, like you said, I mean, there's still a lot to improve, and that's what these exhibition games are for. And so they'll get it going, they'll get it moving, and like I said, once they get Darryl White implemented into the team, I think the defense is going to be even better.
Yeah, and let's not forget to mention Derek White, his teammate Jason Tatum. Is coming off a long playoff run as well and winning the NBA Finals. We'll see how Coach Kerr manages, especially early in his tournament for the Olympics.
Also, the older guys as well. You got to think that this is going to be the last go around for LeBron. I know KD didn't play a lot. I think they're kind of like getting him going there as well because he has just gotten there too. So we'll see how he goes. Steph Curry, you got to think he's going to make the best of it. This is actually his first Olympics, oddly enough. Remember the last couple times he was supposed to have been on, he was injured because of long playoff runs when they won the championship about the Warriors. So yeah, he wants to make the best of impression for his debut in the Olympics. So yeah, there's a lot of guys got a lot to prove here. So should be interesting. We'll see what happens.
You're listening to Second City Sports Zone Chicago City. Lakina hanging out here with you on this #Friday Fun edition. And now, Lakina, the NFL never seems to disappoint us, especially in the all season. I know a couple of teams will open up training camp tomorrow. And of course, the Chicago Bears, I think they have less than 2 weeks left before they open up camp. But I found this article courtesy of Jordan Dajani, if I'm pronouncing this guy's name correctly, from CBS Sports. He came out with a list a couple weeks ago about the top 20 wide receivers in the National Football League. We won't break down every single guy, but we'll just go through the names. Amari Cooper checks in at number 20 for the Cleveland Browns. Number 19, Nico Collins of the Houston Texans. Number 18 is Devontae Smith of the Philadelphia Eagles, followed by Deebo Samuel at number 17 of the 49ers, Cooper Kupp at number 16 for the Los Angeles Rams, and checking in at number 15, Terry McLaurin of the Washington Commanders. Any issues thus far?
Nope. So, kind of figure what Yep. No issues there.
Okay. Number 14, Jalen Waddle of the Miami Dolphins. Number 13, DJ Moore of your Chicago Bears. He is expected to have a great year this year with rookie quarterback Caleb Williams at the helm. As we talked about with the Bears, Lakina, they have a whole bunch of weapons around Mr. Williams. Of course, Roma Duze, the rookie wide receiver out of Washington, is expected to have a big year as well. But DJ Moore leads that wide receiver group as the young veteran on that squad. I know we talk about Keenan Allen. He's the oldest out of all of them. But DJ Moore is the best wide receiver out of that bunch in this Bears wide receiver group.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. You get a new OC, a new quarterback. I think it can kind of. I know some Bears are like, well, you should be hired. No, they're gonna you're basically gonna be starting from scratch. So yeah, I can kind of see why they have him there. So I have no problem with him being there.
Okay, Puka Nacua of the Los Angeles Rams. He had a great year last year. 105 receptions, over 1,400 receiving yards, and 6 receiving touchdowns. He's clearly Matthew Stafford's number 1 target out there in Los Angeles for the Rams. Number 11, Mike Evans of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Again, we'll see if he can replicate what happened with especially with the second year with Baker Mayfield. So again, no problem there. Now, as far as Akua, we'll go back to Akua for a bit here. Yeah, I want to see if he can do this consistently in his second year. Usually now now people know who you are. So I want to see if he can it's going to be hard for him to replicate some of the big records that he broke among rookies. So I'm interested to see what happens with Mr. Akuba.
Yeah, and Cooper Kupp was relegated to the number 2 wide receiver last year. I think that's a great role for him, and we'll see, like you said, they can duplicate that same success this year. Looking at Mike Evans' numbers from last year, you remember he got fresh paper, as the kids would say in the offseason. 79 receptions, 1,255 receiving yards, and 13 receiving touchdowns. So that was Mike Evans' numbers from a year ago. Now, continuing with the list from CBSSports.com, the top 20 wide receivers head into 2024. Number 10, Garrett Wilson from the New York Jets. He and the rest of that organization better hope that Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, because if Aaron does, Garrett Wilson's numbers will be off the charts. Last year, despite Aaron Rodgers' injury, Garrett Wilson had 95 receptions, over 1,042 receiving yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns.
Yeah, it's gonna be really good to hinge on what Mr. Rodgers can do. He has to stay healthy. That's really gonna be the number one question there.
Stephon Diggs checks in at number 9. This time of the Houston Texans. Last year with Buffalo, 107 receiving yards, over 107 receptions, I should say. 1,183 receiving yards and 8 receiving touchdowns.
Okay, yeah, like I said, I want to see if he can, go into a different team, a different division. CJ Stroud, I want to see how he does against that. So hopefully he'll get the ball. He's definitely the number 1 guy there now. So yeah, it's put up or show time for Mr. Diggs down there in Houston.
And he's going to see a lot of double teams this year coming up as well. Checking in at number 8, Brandon Ayuk of the San Francisco 49ers, 75 receptions, over 1,300 yards, and 7 receiving touchdowns. Like, I like this guy. He finally came on last year, but the OC of the 49ers forgot to call his name in last year's Super Bowl. If they turned the other cheek, they might have won that game. I'm just saying. Because remember, I had him for MVP.
Yes, you did. And yeah, I know, I guess Kyle Shanahan didn't get the message. So, and he's not very happy at the moment. So he wants new contract, and yeah, we'll see. I mean, yeah, that's going to be interesting if he's still going to be with the 49ers. But I don't think a lot of teams are going to want to bite. So yeah, he's kind of stuck there. It's definitely prove-it mode for Mr. Ayuk.
All right, checking in at number 7, Devontae Adams of the Las Vegas Raiders, 103 receptions last year, over 1,100 yards, receiving and 8 receiving touchdowns. It looks like it's going to be Aiden O'Donnell out of Purdue going into the second year, throwing him the ball. Can Devontae Adams repeat these numbers?
Boy, that's going to be interesting. Like I said, it's going to be another interesting situation there. Of course, you're going to be dealing with a young quarterback. So, yeah, Devontae Adams, that's going to be interesting to look out for.
Yeah. And at number 6, Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Detroit Lions. Last year, 119 receptions, over 1,500 yards receiving, and 10 receiving touchdowns. Clearly, he's the number 1 guy for Detroit.
Got some fresh paper.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be interesting to see if it's gonna be seeing. I think he's gonna be also gonna be seeing a lot of double teams this year. So I'm interested to see what's gonna happen with that. So yeah, excuse me.
All right.
So yeah, he's gonna see a lot of double teams too. Also,
here's your top 5 wide receivers to watch in 2024 according to CBSSports.com. Check it in at number 5, AJ Brown of the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm still thinking of baseball. Good grief. AJ Brown last year for the Gang Green had 106 receptions, over 1,400 receiving yards, and 7 receiving touchdowns.
Well, like I said, I mean, look, there was a lot. He kind of struggled a little bit last year, and Jalen Hurts. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see. He saw a lot of double teams last year, so I'm wondering, like, with the new OC, Kellen Moore's over there now. So I'm looking to see like how his offense is gonna work with Mr. Brown. So we'll see if he can see the AJ Brown that we were expecting to see last year, but we didn't see it.
He reached the Super Bowl in his rookie year in 2021. He's entering year number 3, if my math is correct, or year number 4, I should say. And that's Jamar Chase of the Cincinnati Bengals out of LSU. Last year, even though Joe Burrow was out for most of the year, Mr. Chase put up 100 receiving, 100 catches, I should say, over 1,200 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm gonna be. This is gonna be interesting. This is gonna be interesting to see what another thing is gonna be interesting to see how this kind of like shakes out here because what do you think? What do you think? Because I'm kind of like on the fence with him. Like can he be kind of repeat what we've been seeing the last few years?
If Joe Burrow stays healthy, Jamar Chase is that guy. And speaking of another guy who's going to be looking for fresh cash very soon, I know his teammate T. Higgins is looking for fresh cash, but Jamar Chase is that number one guy. I read the numbers to you, what he did last year. Most of it was out Joe Burrow, but if Joe Burrow stays healthy, I expect those numbers to go up slightly.
A lot of guys are gonna be good. A lot of those safeties are gonna be gunning for him. So we'll see.
Yeah.
They got years of tape on him now. So that's why I'm a little hesitant. I know he wants fresh cash, but he's still one of the best receivers in the league until we see otherwise.
Yeah. Checking in at number 3, another person is going to get fresh cash next all season. CeeDee Lamb of the Dallas Cowboys, 135 receptions, over 1,700 yards receiving, and 12 touchdowns.
I think this is definitely a proven year for him as well. We know people say Dak. We'll talk about Dak later on with the boot, but yeah, he's definitely looking for fresh paper too. So he's definitely gonna need a big year.
Number 2, Tyreek Hill of the Miami Dolphins. I told you last year he was my MVP until he got hurt in December, but Tyreek Hill had 119 receptions, over 1,700 receiving yards, and 13 receiving touchdowns.
Still a freak, Ty Freak Hill as I call him, and he's still doing his thing. So it's just that the rest of the team has to catch up. That's really been the problem.
And Miami's still on the fence of whether Tua Tagovailoa is going to be their franchise quarterback, so that's going to be a big factor as well.
So who are your top? Who are the top 2?
Tyreek Hill was number 2, and then the number 1 wide receiver is Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings. He got fresh paper in the offseason. He has 68 receptions last year, over 1,000 yards receiving, and 5 receiving touchdowns in the injury played year. But now Mr. Jefferson's quarterback is going to be, at least as of right now, 2 of them, Sam Darnold and rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan.
That's going to be the thing here, and I know he's going to want to prove he's worthy of that new fresh paper that he got. So good to see who's going to be throwing the ball to him. Will it be Darnold or will it be McCarthy? So that's to be continued there. We'll see once they start training camp in a couple of weeks.
And he has a good number 2 wide receiver at his head, and Jordan Addison, who had a good rookie year last year.
Yeah, got me some points in the fantasy last year too. So yeah, that's what it's all about here. That is your top wide receivers to watch out for this coming season in the NFL.
She's back after a fresh fake Caitlin Clark much-deserved vacation. Our girl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika from KXRB, will be checking in. We got a lot to discuss with her. What has she been doing in her time off? We got the ESPYs to discuss, and a future Hall of Fame head coach is now entering the sports media world. That and a whole lot more. As you stay tuned right there, you're listening to Second City Sports, the hashtag Friday Fun Edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to the hashtag Friday Fun edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Sakina. This is our last break of the show for today and for the weekend. So, you have any last minute questions or comments, make them great as you head over to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid, we haven't had her on. It seems like well, it feels only been a few weeks, but it feels like longer than that. But we got a lot to catch up with her on a whole lot of sports topics, and of course, what she's been doing the last few weeks as well. She's from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She is the one, the only Miss Christine, the Queen Manika. What's up, Christine? How are ya?
Hello, good. How are you guys?
We're doing great. How about you?
It's always a busy time of the year this time of around. So yeah, we're doing good.
Good.
Oh,
tell us about tell us about your trip to Chicago a couple weeks ago. I'm glad you guys got that concert in, despite that bad weather.
Yeah, funny enough, that trip, it was a quick weekend thing. And it was originally because it was my high school reunion. And it got rescheduled until October, but I bought the tickets already back in April. So I just thought I'm going to take a free little vacation for myself. And I already had the White Sox tickets too. So yeah, at least they got the win. That's all that matters. Somehow they won.
And speaking of winning, your hubby Chris was doing some winning lately. Let's talk about from a few weeks back where he it was, I think they said it was like one of the longest playoffs in the golf history.
Yeah,
and
it is.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it is the longest playoff. We looked into it in history of golf. So technically it's a world record, a 16-hole playoff. That does not happen every single day. I feel bad because I was there for the entire tournament, but unfortunately I had to leave after the third hole in the last round because I had to go announce the soccer game back in Sioux Falls. But I was getting a lot of FaceTime calls during the entire event. So I was up in the press box focusing on the field and focusing on my phone all at the same time. And I was stressed out in both situations. So I'm very proud of him. He worked hard for that win. I know every golfer feels the same way, and every golfer's wife feels the same way after a big victory like that, but he really did deserve it. It was quite the showdown, and now they got a fun little rivalry going on.
Yeah, like we said, congratulations to your husband, Chris, also a big friend of this show. Going back to the
Mhm.
White Sox game a couple weeks ago, just for a moment, Christine, I'm glad the White Sox got the win that night. And talk to us about Jordan Davis, the country singer who
Yeah.
put on the performance after the game. Like I said, despite the weather, it wasn't too bad. He was able to get his performance in. Of course, I saw some of the pictures on social media, but how was his performance to you since you were there up close?
Oh gosh, he's fantastic. So he came to Sioux Falls about 3 years ago now, during this thing we call the block party. It's at a local bar in the downtown area, and I was asked to announce that show. And what a great performer Jordan Davis is! And just to see him in my hometown with my twin sister and some family members, I think it was perfect. He has such a high energy, lots of great songs too, and he's still climbing up those country charts. And he really got into it. He embraced the White Sox, the fans, the team. He was actually sitting right above our section, and he went out of the box for a little bit to say hi to the fans, and they were loving it. And it was just all in all a really good night. I'm glad they got the show in. I wasn't sure how that was going to go down, because normally with delays like that, you don't know if there's a noise ordinance or if there's some sort of policy in place between the White Sox and the city. I'm sure maybe they got a last minute extension for something like that. But at least he played for a good 45, 50 minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if he had to cut down his set a little bit, but the songs that he did play, they were fantastic.
Yeah, he's a really great. He's kind of like a rising star in the country music world. So he's going to be winning some awards coming up.
Oh, he has won a couple of big ones already. So yeah, he's continuing to climb the ladder, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely going to be in the running for male vocalist of the year within the next year or two. I really. Let's talk about the White Sox on the field. To trade or not to trade, Mr. Garrett Crochet? That is the question. That Sid and I, I'm sure you and others have been pondering on the last couple of weeks. What say you?
Boy, I mean, it's nice that Michael Kopech got the immaculate inning the other day. That's great for the team, but also great for him personally. We've all seen his private life kind of played out in the spotlight and within the Chicago news and whatnot. So it's nice to see him get a good win, to get a good story under his belt about him. And who knows, hopefully he can turn into that closer for the White Sox. I hope that's what they're kind of shaping him to do right now, after his injury and surgeries and whatnot, trying to find a spot for him in the rotation. And closer could actually be it. Although I miss my Liam Hendricks, I think Michael Kopech would be a good fit for that position.
What about Crochet? Would you trade him or not? I know he's coming off of Tommy John. You wouldn't trade him?
You wouldn't trade him?
No.
Okay.
I was kind of hoping that when I was at the game that he would be pitching, but our pitcher did good that we went to go see. I think it was Thorpe or whatever. Yeah, so he did good. So that made me happy.
Speaking of Garrett Crochet, I was at that game on that Sunday a couple of weeks ago. He did pitch his what off, but here's the thing, Christine, and this has nothing to do with Garrett Crochet. And I like the way he pitches, like Mark Burley and Dylan Cease when both of them were here. They pitch fast games, and it looks like it's faster now with the pitch clock they instituted last year. But we all seen your favorite teams at live events, have blowouts or get blown out, things of that nature. But you know what's worse than all that, Christine? Watching your favorite team play bad baseball for an hour and a half against another team that's worse than you. That's what I experienced a couple weeks ago with that series against Colorado. Garrett Crochet had one bad inning, but the Sox had numerous chances to win that game. If the game would have ended in 9-inning regular time, we would have been out of there at 3 o'clock. But no, the Sox just had to shoot themselves in the foot and had to sit there for an extra hour and a half watching two bad teams, and one of your teams being your favorite team with bad extra inning baseball.
Well, at least when I saw the game and they played Colorado, they won. So I don't know what happened to your game, Sid. So,
that series was entertainingly bad, as I said a few weeks back when that
You
series.
said it better than I could, Lakina.
Yeah, entertainingly bad, as I call it. For between two entertainingly bad teams. Listen, Second City Sports. Sports on Chicago, Lakina McGee, City Brown, our girl, Christine Manika for KXRB. Back with us as we catch up with her. Now, let's start with the last night's ESPYs. If you saw the recaps, and the big winners were Simone Biles, who won Comeback Player of the Year. Asia Wilson won Female Athlete of the Year. Patrick Mahomes won Male Athlete of the Year. Juju Watkins, a sensation from USC, she won Breakthrough Athlete of the Year. But the last 5 minutes, if you didn't see it, well, don't feel bad if you're out in the East and Central time zones. They actually cut the award show ending off. They went to their local news, including here in Chicago. I don't know if they did it with you over in Sioux Falls, Christine, but South Carolina Women's Hoops makes history as the first women's team to win Team of the Year, and we didn't get to see it. So to ESPN's credit, they did post a full video.
Yeah.
Damar Hamlin and Daisy Ridley presented that award to them, and a great speech by the I forgot who that was that spoke for the team, but yeah, a big boo boo there. Now some people were comparing it to La La Land and Moonlight, what happened to the Oscars a few years ago. Now, if you want to go all the way back to Heidi, all the way back in 1968, I think, or 68 or 69, of course. You guys can Google that. But what did you guys say, Chrissy? I'll start with you.
You know, I only watched the highlights on the Facebook videos and what they were posting. I gotta say, Prince Harry's speech, it was really good. I mean, a lot of people gave him a hard time for even winning the award, including Pat Tillman's mother. And the story behind the Invictus game is 10 years ago, that was Prince Harry's idea. That wasn't anybody else's idea behind it. It was all Prince Harry that started the Invictus games, mainly because he is the only royal member of the family who actively served in the military. And by actively served, that means he was in combat. He was in Afghanistan. And what it's become now from 10 years ago when it started out, it's unbelievable. So he very much well deserves that award. And the speech he gave, he never once said that this is all because of him. He always related it back to the people behind him that helped him organize the Invictus Games, the athletes that are involved, and great and generous donations too that he's received to continue the Invictus Games. So the speech is really good if you haven't seen it already.
Also thought too that Dawn Staley's speech, the head coach of the women's basketball team in South Carolina, she had a great speech last night. She was the recipient of the Jimmy V Courage Award, and she referenced Stuart Scott, the late Stuart Scott's speech from 10 years ago. And if you don't know Dawn's story, why she won the award, her sister had a bone marrow replacement from suffering from leukemia 3 years ago. And of course, Nikki McCray, Lakina, you remember her. She was one of the original faces people don't talk about of the WNBA. We talk when they started back in '97. We talk about Rebecca Lobo and Lisa Leslie. Nikki McCray was one of those original faces as well. She died a year ago, and she was on Coach Staley's staff up until she passed last year. So, and Coach Staley was talking about teamwork and giving up on yourself, constantly helping others. I thought it was a great inspirational speech last night. She included her family members, obviously, in her basketball team. And I think, just paraphrasing here, her message also in that speech was, how can I tell somebody to do something if I'm not doing it? So I got to be the example. And I thought that message really hit home with a lot of people, including yours truly, last night.
Beautiful speech by her. And of course, Nick Saban, also a great speech. He won the Icon Award. Of course, LeBron won. That was the first recipient of the award last year. The now retired, now turned ESPN college game day analyst Nick Saban kind of talked a lot about compassion and teamwork, and it was sort of Mark Ingram and Bryce Young, of course, two of his former players, both Heisman Trophy winners, ironically, helped present the award to him. And just a really great speech by Nick Saban. However he feels about the NILs and stuff now, he definitely emphasized the teamwork and also the compassion you got to have for players. Especially, I think he kind of said this. I'm paraphrasing what he said about the NILs and help him guide him through that. So that was a really great speech by him as well.
Yep, I agree. I want to ask Christine this: if she saw any clips on social media. Of course, Serena Williams, perhaps the greatest female tennis player to walk the face of the earth. She hosted the ESPYS last night.
Mhm.
In my opinion, I thought she was okay. You could tell the jokes were written for her because she's not a host, she's not a comedian in that sort of fashion. I thought she was, yeah, okay. But if you saw any clips on social media regarding her monologues and jokes throughout the program, what did you think about her performance last night?
I just saw her outfit and she looks freaking fabulous. I mean, she looked really good. And, you can't argue she's the GOAT of females for tennis and tennis in general. And I think she looked great. I didn't hear what she said. She just looked fantastic. She's huge, though. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine standing next to her.
Yeah, you saw her with her sister Venus, and of course Quinta Brunson. We'll get to the comments they made about Harrison Buckner in a second, but that was that was interesting. Her hosting wise, I mean, she was average, like you said. Said she's not a comedian. She doesn't. We don't really hear her make a lot of jokes. We know Peyton. Is a great jokester. Steph, who did it a few years before, he's a great jokester as well. We really haven't heard that about Serena. But I'll give her a C, I guess. But again, it was like I said, she's not a natural comedian, so it was okay. I mean, she read it well. I guess that's all you can say about her. She looked great. Although that first silver one with like tinfoil. But again, I'm just it's different taste, I guess. But also Steve Gleason, of course, the former Saints receiver, won the Arthur Ashe Courage Award. Of course, now he's suffering from ALS, and a really beautiful speech by him as well, just about humanity and just being good to each other no matter the circumstance. So I thought that was a really great speech by all. I mean, the show itself was okay. I mean, this is sort of like this is actually kind of the earliest that they've had it in a few years. Because of course, a lot of the Simone Biles couldn't accept her award. Asia Wilson, she actually had a game last night. We'll talk about Angel Reese and Caitlin Carter in a second, but it's kind of interesting with how they put this at this year. These don't have it until like the end of July, but I guess maybe for timing purposes, but I digress. But it was okay. It was an okay ceremony, I guess, despite all the weirdness that happened afterwards.
I want to ask you guys this question, and especially to our listeners and viewers out there at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. And many people I heard in the last 24 hours say that since the rapper Drake hosted that show, which was iconic, I believe 10 years ago now, that the ESPYs has fallen off in terms of hosts. You mentioned Lakina Steph Curry. I thought he did okay a couple of years ago, but outside of that, when the last time the ESPYs were really good from start to finish with a strong host, it was rapper Drake 10 years ago. Christine, I'll ask you first. How you think the ESPYs has fallen off within the last decade or so?
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't even know the ESPYs were happening this week until I believe Monday or Tuesday. So I don't think the promotion was all there for it, in all honesty, because it was earlier. So maybe going forward, they just got to get a little bit more promotion out there for it, and just, that would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I think you're right, Christine, because I didn't know it either until I saw them. They're Thursday. Oh, they're this Thursday. I thought it was like next Thursday. Like you said, there wasn't usually like by June, mid-June, they usually start hyping it up. So I don't know what happened there. I don't know the producer. I don't know what there was a lot of miscommunication. So I don't know what happened there. But like I said, I think Peyton was really good a few years ago. So that was probably like the last time that. I know, Drake, that was an iconic, of course, Peyton had some iconic moments as well. I think you just got to find the right host. Maybe go back to maybe doing it with actual comedians, or, I'm sure some people say maybe have Jimmy Kimmel do it. So let's see, he has experience doing it. And maybe some people say maybe have The Rock do it. He's never done it. So maybe just get the right host and perhaps a hype mindset. And I guess whoever votes on the awards, I don't know. I mean, look, I know SP is just much like kind of a sort of like a fundraiser for the V Foundation, which has, I think, raised like hundreds of millions of dollars, like almost over $1 billion. I think in the last like 20 some odd years they've had this, 30 some odd years, just say they've had this award show. So that's really kind of a vehicle for that. They need to kind of like get back into that, because it needs to be a little more cohesive, I think.
Yeah, Christine, who would be your perfect host for the ESPYs if you had to choose one person to host the ESPYs?
I believe it was Kelly Clarkson a couple of years ago that hosted the NFL Honors. She would be a good one, I feel like. She can get the crowd talking and laughing. I think she would be a good option.
Plus, she can sing too, so that's a bonus. So yeah, you might be on something there.
She's a
Christine.
big sports fan too. Big sports
she is.
fan.
Yeah.
Huge. I could go with that. Yeah, I could go with that. I know some people say Steve Harvey too, since like I said, he also done an NFL Honors for a couple of years too. We talked about The Rock, so yeah, I think getting the right host is good to set the tone. I think that's really going to be what kind of drives it, but we'll see.
I don't think she'll do it because if you saw the story this week, she's going to withdraw herself from the spotlight. But I would like to see Ellen DeGeneres do it one time.
Oh boy, she's not going to do it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would love to see. I don't know what's going to happen, but
she claimed that she's gonna. You guys did see this a couple of days ago after her stand-up tour. She asked to go away from the spotlight. She might be too toxic for some folks, so I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
That's not gonna happen.
She's a very funny lady.
We know, but other stuff, all the other stuff that's happened, I don't know if she'll do it.
I don't know if it's true or not, the other stuff. It's kind of very conflicting. Normally when you see that stuff, it's either one side or the other, but it's pretty split, so who knows what happened. Maybe she's just sick and tired of the scrutiny too.
You might be right about that too. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. More sports media news. Bill Belichick. This came out. A great video, very well placed video by the NFL. Of course, with Ryan Clark, coming back as host. You got Chris Long and Chad Ochocinco. But the newest member of the Inside NFL team will be future Hall of Fame coach Bill Belichick, and of course, we know that he's going to be doing the Manning cast with Eli and Peyton, coming up this year for the Monday football game. So he's definitely kind of putting himself out there to kind of like, I don't know if maybe he wants to show folks that look, he has a sense of humor, but it'll be interesting. But yeah, this is going to be very interesting too, coming up on Fridays on the CW.
I figured that he would be ending up in more than just one media platform, with the Manning cast or whatnot. I think it is good to show a little bit more of his personality because we're so used to seeing him in front of the media, just, straight face, cut off shirt, sometimes one-worded answers, maybe 3 words if you're lucky to get that out of him. So I definitely think he wants his personality to be shown a little bit more.
Yeah, I think he'll take a dig, for lack of better terms, of certain people throwing his old personality out there just to be funny. But from what I've read and heard from some other folks in his circle, that he is kind of a lightheaded, lack of a better term, lightheaded guy. He doesn't take himself too seriously. I know most coaches, especially in football, have to do that to protect their team, protect their players, not give the media anything. But I think people are going to be very surprised by what Mr. Belichick brings to the camera. And I'm really interested more to see what he's going to do with the Manning cast. Because we all love the Manning cast on this show. I want to see how his personality fits with the Manning brothers.
I wonder if Eli and Payne are going to kind of push his buttons a little bit.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We'll have to maybe share some stories a little bit. Yeah. So I think, look, there have been some clips of doing some TV, so if he is very lighthearted, and he's actually funny. So I think, people are going to start seeing him more to a bigger audience. So we'll be just, it should be fun. I believe, Sid, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. I believe August 30th will be the first episode of Inside the NFL for the new season on the CW.
And it's moving to Fridays. Mm-hmm.
Yep, on the CW. So it's gonna be back on WGN here in Chicago. I don't know what channel is it for you guys over there in Sioux Falls, Christine. But check your local listings for your CW affiliate in your area. Check it out at August 30th Inside the NFL.
All right, you're listening to Sports Zone Chicago's Second City Sports. Sid Lakina and Christine hanging out here with you. We still have a few minutes left as we wrap up the week. As always, we love having Christine, the Queen Manika, with us as she makes her return to the program. All right, Christine, some more sports media news. The NBA contract for the new television deal will kick in after next season. It's Amazon Prime, ESPN, and now NBC is in the mix. I'll say this: if you're an NBA player looking to become a free agent in the next year or two, with the new TV money, just like we saw a decade ago, Lakina, you'll be bringing in some fresh paper thanks to the new television contract that was going on for 11 years starting after next season.
It'll be interesting if Turner or Warner Bros. Discovery decides to match it because they have I think they have 5 days after they officially. I guess they're going to send it to Turner, Warner Bros. Discovery, and they'll have to decide whether or not they want to match that. Of course, some people are saying that if they do match it, because they're going to go for the Amazon package, so little fewer games. Of course, ESPN is going to be doing 80 games. I think NBC is going to be doing Sunday night games after the football season. So that's going to be interesting to see if they decide. Now, of course, Charles Barkley reiterated that he's still going to retire even if Warner Bros. Discovery even matches that. So, I guess he's doubling down on that retirement talk. So, Christine, what do you think about all the NBA contracts and such?
I think it's interesting that NBC's kind of hopping on a new program, considering that they have Peacock under their belt. So I think that's going to be interesting. And yeah, Barkley, he is sticking to his roots. I think he just wants to be done, which is okay too.
Speaking of NBC, Christine, let's transition over to NASCAR. Of course, they had their Xfinity races here in Chicago last weekend. Despite the brief weather delay last Sunday night, NASCAR did a great job showcasing the city as those race car drivers raced through downtown Chicago. We all know as citizens you cannot ever do that. But I watched both those races, both those days. I thought the coverage was excellent. I don't know if you got a chance to watch it. If you did, what were your thoughts?
They turned left. That's it. That's all I know about NASCAR. I don't know the drivers. I just know the bigger names like Jeff Gordon, all that stuff. So I'm not a big racing person, but Keith Urban did perform as part of the whole NASCAR event in Chicago. And I love Keith Urban. He's so great.
Yeah, he is. He's a great singer-songwriter. And the ratings were actually pretty good. Just a little under 4 million. Which, of course, with the rain delay, I think it was even higher than that. But a lot of folks apparently tuned out. But still a solid number. I think it's still probably one of the highest numbers in about a decade. Well, actually, since NBC took over coverage. So I think if you're the folks over there, the organizers of the Chicago, the Grand Park racing, I think they are going to want to try it after next year to make this a yearly thing at the or at least have it a biannual thing, if not a yearly thing or every other year.
Yeah, like I told you, Lakina, if the opportunity is there next year or whenever they bring it back, I'm gonna try to go to one of those events. It looked pretty cool watching it on television.
It really did. It looks like it was a fun experience. So I'm looking forward to next year. Well, I guess we're gonna try and see if we can go next year, Sid. I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, you can bring Christine along too.
Hey.
Also, Lakina, us two, and then Christine and her beautiful husband.
Yes, we do. Yes. No, but yeah, I'll say absolutely. Now, sticking going back to the NFL for a second. Fox has announced. Well, they haven't announced it yet. They usually don't announce this type of stuff till next month about this time. But Andrew Marchand, if you believe him, with the Athletic, he said that with Tom Brady now the number one guy with Kevin Burkhardt, there's going to be a lot of new teams. Really, the only team that's going to be the same as Kenny Albert and Jonathan Vilma. The rest are as follows: Joe Davis, Greg Olson, and Adam Amin and Mark Sanchez. They're going to be a new duo there. Of course, we can talk about Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma, Kevin Kruger. We'll have Daryl Moose Johnson, who should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to keep dying on that hill. And Chris Myers and Mark Stink. Sure, those are going to be your main guys. So, what do you guys think about? We actually texted each other about it yesterday. What do you guys think about that new lineup for Fox?
Expected, unfortunately, with Tom Brady joining the team, but I'm looking forward to seeing his broadcasting skills. I know during his first couple of times already, he's already made a good impression, and I've listened to a couple of his breaks that he did. He's pretty good. I don't think Tom Brady wouldn't do this if he didn't think that he could be good at it. So I'm looking forward to see what he does when the first game rolls around.
Regarding Daryl Moose Johnson, Lakina, I don't know why they downgraded him to the third or the fourth crew. Remember, he's been the number one guy, definitely the number two and sometimes the number 3 guy as far as the analysts concerned, as far as announcer crews over the last several years. But it looks like he's been downgraded again, and that's unfortunate. But he still loves the job. He's still one of the best at it, in my opinion. He'll probably be doing some Bears games this year, especially the Bears do terrible. But I digress. But I'm interested to see Joe Davis and Greg Olson because I think they did it before.
Yes.
Greg Olson went to the number 1 booth for the last couple years before Brady's arrival. Like Christine said, Brady's arrival shook everything up.
Yeah, it really did, and it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in that. Of course, remember there's not gonna be because usually the opening week both CBS and Fox have 3:00 games. Now this year, of course, with Brady making his debut, it's only gonna be the Fox game. Of course, the Browns and the Cowboys. So that's gonna be interesting to see. I know it's gonna be a lot of eyes on him. Like he practices every week. I know he's out there in California visiting his parents, and I know he goes to the Fox studios every week to prep. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. And it's real quick, Christine, do you think it's been too much Tom Brady? I'm sure I've heard some folks say, "Oh, well, it's too much Brady." I mean, with the roast and this and that. Like, what do you think?
I mean, this is going to be a biased opinion. I can never have too much Tom Brady.
Same.
I think I'm the wrong person to ask that question.
The whole Chris doesn't have a problem with that. I'm just saying.
He knows. He knows.
He gets it. He gets it.
He gets it.
He gets it. He gets a very understanding husband. That which is a good thing. Now, receivers. Oh well, so we're not talking about quarterbacks, but the receivers, of course. Remember that that series, of course, quarterbacks which is very successful for Netflix. So if you have Netflix, they have receiver. The episode, I think the George Kittle episode is up right now as we speak. Of course, they're going to go behind the scenes of this past season with Kittle, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, Deebo Samuel, and Amon St. Brown. So if you guys, it's going to be a new episode every week. So make sure you guys check it out on Netflix. If you got it, I'm sure it's going to be on YouTube as well if you don't have Netflix. So I said, don't worry. But if you like quarterback,
someone's going to have it up, I'm sure.
yeah. You do. Someone's going to have it up streaming, I'm sure. But I think Netflix will have it on their account, the YouTube account as well. So you guys can check that out too. They got to get views, so that's how they make their money. But so it should be a fun season. You guys watched quarterback last year, of course. This season, of course, the receiver, of course, Randy Moss going to be the narrator, so that should be a lot of fun.
Let's head down the home stretch of Second City Sports right here on Sports Zone Chicago, the Friday filling edition. Sid, Lakina, and Christine hanging out here with us. We have a few minutes left with Christine. I want to transition over to basketball. The Chicago Bulls, as we said for the last couple of weeks, Lakina, Jerry Reinsdorf crew has given Arturas Karnisovas and GM Mark Eversley the green light to rebuild this thing. DeMar DeRozan is out. Alex Caruso is out. Zach LaVine is still technically on the trade market, but he may not be the member of the Chicago Bulls when training camp starts in September. Christine, what are your thoughts about the Bulls are retooling or rebuilding here as we head into the new 2024-25 season?
Yeah, I was thinking about DeMar DeRozan getting traded to the Kings, but I know they're in a rebuild and his stock value is pretty high right now. There's a part of me that thinks I don't think LaVine is going to be traded just because his injuries are far too stacked up now and his value just isn't there. And the time to strike would have been the last couple of years to trade him if they were going to do that. So unfortunately, I think that he's still, I shouldn't say unfortunately because we're talking about someone's job, but I think that he's going to stay with the Bulls and continue to be a Bull. And Alex Caruso, again, another great team maker, and sad to see him going too. But it's something that's a tradition here in Chicago sports to rebuild.
Well, as I said, like we were talking about, Sid, I mean, if LaVine does well and can stay healthy by the All-Star break, I think they can definitely get good value for him. It's really that's really what's all going to depend on if he's productive and he stays healthy. So I think he will be moved, probably just not until the All-Star break.
Yeah, that's the worst case scenario if you're Chicago. But if that happens, like you said, Zach LaVine has to be a good teammate, a good soldier, but most importantly, stay healthy. And like you say, the Bulls will get some value from at the trade deadline in February of next season.
All right, real quick, before we go here, of course, Caitlin Clark, of course, became the first WNBA rookie to have a triple-double, while Angel Reese just did double-double for the 15th straight game yesterday. So, Christine, real quick, what are your thoughts on these two milestones?
I think it's great. I think it's great for the WNBA and for just women's sports in general. I know that Angel Reese is now the #1 rookie and surpassed Caitlin Clark. So it's fun to see rivalries like that grow, especially in a sport that some people are just discovering. Some people are just realizing about the WNBA and just watching and paying attention to the games more. So it's exciting. It's great all around.
Yeah, we know that we know that the rating. Yeah, I know we know that the ratings are up not only locally here in Chicago, but nationwide, especially when Caitlin Clark plays. And I know that the ratings were high when the Sky played the Fever a couple of times this year. I think they play each other 1 or 2 more times after the Olympic break and later on in the season. But the WNBA, they better not drop the ball on this, because I think the Angel Reese Caitlin Clark rivalry, along with great basketball, can help propel this league. I know their TV contract is up in a couple of years, and if the ratings keep climbing up as many people expect, the players will be handsomely rewarded. I know that the ticket sales have been more than above average, especially here in Chicago, damn near salads at every game at Wintrust Arena. So, and when these players go out on the road, they get a great support as well. So, as long as the WNBA don't drop the ball here, I think the arrow's pointing up for them for the foreseeable future.
Could be interesting to see how much value there's going to be. The Fever hosts the Mercury coming up tonight. That's part of an Ion. Well, it's for regional coverage. I guess the Aces and the Dream. Yeah, that's going to be the other game. So I'm sure Chicago folks going to see the Mercury Fever game. Then after that, they got Minnesota and Seattle to the Lynx and the Storm. So that's going to be on Ion. Now the Sky's next game will be tomorrow against the Liberty. That's going to be on ABC at noon, at high noon. And of course, you got the Sparks and the Dallas Wings. That's going to be the CBS game also too as well. So yeah, I think this is their last couple games before the Olympic break and the All-Star break. I think they're going to be off for like 3 weeks or something like that. So this is going to be the last couple of games there to see both Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese before they go on their respective breaks.
Yeah, and don't forget the WNBA All-Star game is next Saturday night at 7:30 Chicago time on ABC. Is the WNBA All-Stars against the USA Women's Olympic team for they hit the road for the Olympics.
I think they're gonna have a 3-week break, I think, after this weekend. So check out these WNBA games if you can on Ion, ABC, and CBS. Also, too, for all you soccer fans, the Euros, the finals there should be a great one. You got Spain and England. That's gonna be on Sunday. And tomorrow night, tomorrow night it's gonna be for the Copa Cup. You've got Colombia and and Argentina. So the battle of South American squads there as well. So you can check those games out this weekend. The Copa America and the Euro Championship finals coming up this weekend.
Yeah, Makina is doing that soccer. That soccer.
Yeah. On the Big Fox Network. Yeah, on the Big Fox Network. Both of these on the Big Fox Networks.
Any last minute thoughts, ladies, before we disperse for the weekend?
I don't think so.
Christine, yeah. We gotta talk about the Open Championship coming up next weekend, Christine. So I know really it should be a fun matchup there. Now you can find my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X, and Kio's gonna be on the IG.
You can find yours truly, Cindy Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. The Queen is back, so where can people follow you on social media?
They can follow me at @CManika_KXRB.
And that damn bird still next to you?
Oh, yeah.
That's the bird.
The bird.
Yes, the bird. You get Second City Sports every Monday and Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. One more time. You can get Second City Sports every Monday and Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Right here on Sports of Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels.
Don't forget to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Excuse me. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
And don't forget, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago's programming live in living color 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year on Roku TV.
You can catch our show, Sean and Maya, What's Up Cuz, and Smoke Fells, and a whole lot more. So if you got the Roku TV app, just your device you got to catch Sports Zone Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV.
And you know we will provide.
So try to stay cool, everybody. I know it's hot weather across the country, so
it's like a heat wave.
Yes. If you can, stay hydrated. If you have to go outside, and no alcohol, folks. Water, vitamin water, all the other good stuff. So, and if you can, look, if you have to go outside, but if you can't stay inside, enjoy all the sports. For Sid and Christine, I'm Lakia. This has been Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago, and we'll see you guys Monday.
Holla!